There is a phenomenon in psychology where hostages begin to defend their captors. They start to feel gratitude, not for freedom, but for the small mercies allowed within their captivity. A meal, a kind word, the absence of violence for one more day. Over time, the hostage stops dreaming of escape. They start believing the cage is home. Psychologists call it Stockholm Syndrome. And right now, millions of people are living inside a financial version of it, and they have no idea.
Let me explain what I mean. Think about the way most people talk about their jobs. They say things like, at least I get benefits. At least it's stable. At least I get 2 weeks off a year. Listen to that language carefully. At least. That is not the language of someone who is free. That is the language of someone negotiating the terms of their confinement. When your definition of a good life is built entirely around what your captor allows you to have, you are not thriving, you are surviving, and you have been trained to call it gratitude. This is the compliance architecture, and it was built before you were born. From the moment you entered school, you were taught to sit in rows, follow instructions, wait for permission, and receive your reward on someone else's schedule. Gold stars became grades, grades became degrees, degrees became job offers, and job offers became the single narrow doorway through which you were told all of life's good things must pass. Nobody sat you down and said, "We are training you to be dependent." They did not have to. The architecture did it silently, and by the time you entered the workforce, dependency did not feel like a limitation. It felt like the only logical way to live.
Here is where the psychology gets dangerous. Your brain is running a program called loss aversion, a cognitive bias discovered by Kahneman and Tversky that proves humans feel the pain of losing something roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. This means once you have a salary, benefits, a routine, and a predictable deposit hitting your account every 2 weeks, your brain does not see those things as neutral. It sees them as possessions it cannot afford to lose. So every time you think about leaving, starting something, or building an asset that could replace your income, your brain fires a warning signal that feels identical to physical danger. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are neurologically handcuffed to a system that gave you just enough comfort to make escape feel like self-destruction.
And the system knows this. It is not an accident that raises come in small annual increments, just enough to refresh your tolerance, never enough to change your life. It is not an accident that health insurance is tethered to employment in ways that make leaving feel medically reckless. It is not an accident that retirement funds penalize you for accessing your own money before an age someone else decided was appropriate. Every single one of these mechanisms is a lock on the door, and the cruelest part is that you were handed the lock and told it was a gift. So what does escape look like? Not in theory, but in practice. It begins with a single recognition. The things you are afraid to lose are the exact things keeping you from building what would make you unstoppable. Capital architects call this the captivity comfort audit. You sit down and list every single thing you are afraid of losing if you step outside the system: salary, insurance, status, stability, approval. Then you ask one brutal question about each item on that list. Is this something I chose or something I was given so I would stop choosing? That question changes everything, because you will realize most of what you were clinging to was never a reward. It was a leash with a comfortable grip. Financial Stockholm Syndrome breaks the moment you stop measuring your life by what the system lets you keep and start measuring it by what you are free to build. Freedom is not a number in a retirement account you cannot touch for 30 years. Freedom is the ability to wake up on a Tuesday and know that your time, your energy, and your decisions belong to you. Not because you escaped responsibility, but because you built something that funds your life without requiring your captivity. You were not born to spend your most vital years being grateful for permission. You were born to architect something of your own. And the fact that this video found you today, that is not an accident. That is the first crack in the wall. Leave a comment with the one thing you have been afraid to lose, and let us find out together whether it is a reward or a chain. Subscribe if you are ready to stop negotiating your confinement and start building your exit. The blueprint is here. The question is whether you are ready to pick it up.